Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, parents decided to cancel my 14th birthday party to accommodate my spoiled younger brother. Reinstated it when I told everyone at school. Mom is mad I'm sleeping in on weekends. What's with some people when it comes to Halloween? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Parents decided to cancel my 14th birthday party to accommodate my spoiled younger brother. Reinstated it when I told everyone at school. I'm 20 and his happened when I was 14. I have a brother that's about 6 years younger than me. And he was extra coddled by my parents for having been diagnosed with high-functioning autism when he was 4. But other than that, he seems very normal, just unbelievably spoiled. And he used that to get his way a lot. And by a lot, I mean nearly all the time. Anything I had, he also had to have. So that meant we had doubles of almost everything that wasn't shared items. And anything he had that I didn't, he'd rub in my face any way he could. When I was 11, I begged my parents for a 3DS for my 12th birthday. I got one, but then was told to lend it to my brother whenever he wanted it, or else I'd have it taken away. Which it was, a lot. When my aunt found out after seeing my parents forcibly take my 3DS out of my hands to give to my brother on one of her visits, she let loose on them for such blatant favoritism. They returned my 3DS immediately, then blamed me for the situation after my aunt left. But they didn't make me give it to my brother again. Instead, my parents went out a few days later and bought another 3DS as a surprise gift for my brother. On several of mine and other people's birthdays, my brother made a huge fuss because the party wasn't all about him. Even going so far as to outright state that he was upset because he wasn't getting any gifts or getting to blow out the candles on the cake. My parents learned the hard way that they couldn't enable my brother the way they'd have liked at those parties. And were actually kicked out of a few for trying. And because of that, other kids at his school stopped inviting him to birthday parties altogether. For me, my birthdays were some of the only days I had that I got to have about me, because otherwise my parents forced my life to revolve around my little brother. And the year prior to when this story took place, my parents ended up paying more attention to him the entire time of my 13th birthday. And even asked me if I'd let my brother blow out my candles for me because he was upset and pouting. I refused that because I wanted to blow out my own candles. They called me a spoiled brat at first, till my aunt intervened and chastised them on their favoritism yet again. And stated how much she had noticed how my brother gets nearly everything between the two of us just because he's autistic. My parents got no support from anyone else there other than my brother, who was still crying because he wasn't getting to blow out my candles. And because he didn't get his way, he tried to outright spit on my cake out of spite. But my awesome aunt thankfully blocked him before he got the chance. Then scolded him till he ran to my mom in tears. My parents took a lot of heat from the other adults there, and then promised to never ask me to let my brother blow out my candles again. But they pretty much just went through the motions for rest of the party. My aunt pretty much took over coordinating everything from that point. The following year, a couple of weeks before my birthday, my parents sat me down and told me they were still gonna get me some gifts and a small cake, but my birthday party was effectively cancelled to avoid my brother having another meltdown. I told them I couldn't believe they were doing this to me, and they just seemed to shrug it off without a care. So at school over the next week, I told my friends, my teachers, and even my school counselor. All of them were appalled by my parents' lack of consideration or empathy. The vice principal even found out and consoled me. And all of this got back to my parents through social media. My parents ended up grounding and gaslighting me for telling so many people. But that didn't stop me from still telling everyone at school that I was grounded for just being upset my birthday was cancelled for no good reason. I guess that made it a lot worse because several of my parents' own friends, along with parents to other kids in my school, called them up or sent them FB messages basically saying, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And suddenly I was ungrounded. I didn't get an apology either. My dad just walked into my room with his arms crossed, told me my grounding was over early, and then walked out. That was it. I thought my party was still cancelled because nobody said anything about it. And my brother thought it hilarious and rubbed it in my face that I wasn't going to get to celebrate. But by the end of the 2 weeks, my parents held a surprise party for me at my favorite restaurant. And then started claiming that was their intent all along. I knew it wasn't. From what I'd seen, everyone was incredibly unhappy with them for what they did. And it showed with any interactions family members had with my parents. So they ended up doing the surprise party to try and save what little of their reputations they had left. But I'm pretty sure they had to pay through the nose that day to just accommodate me. I got dinner with all my friends at my favorite restaurant that had a small arcade. And even got the PS4 game system I'd been jonesing for at the time. I could tell it was all pretty much planned and bought last minute, because my dad had a look about him that my aunt comically described as looking like a moth had flown out of his wallet. My brother, of course, made a huge fuss that I got that surprise party. But with so many of my friends and their parents there, my mom and dad finally put their feet down on my brother to stop his tantrum when he wanted to push my cake off the table. My brother ended up getting a time out for the first time since he was a toddler, and my mom had to stay with him to make sure he didn't do anything crazy. And he did try several times to run to the cake or stack of presents. Who knows what he would have done were it not for the fact at least one adult was always on guard. Even my dad stood guard to keep him away. My mom ended up having to remove my brother and herself from the party entirely and took my little bro to a McDonald's nearby so he could have fun in their play area. And I heard later she spent at least an hour trying to get him to come out of the play place tube structure. And he only did so because he had to use the bathroom, then tried to run right back in again. My parents never tried to cancel my birthday again while still I lived with them. Though they never again tried as hard or spent as much. For the remaining 4 years I was under their roof, my birthday parties consisted of a local pizza parlor, a cake without even my name written on it, and never again anything as expensive as a new gaming system. I don't mean to sound spoiled. But I was a bit disappointed I never got a cake with my name on it again. My aunt called my parents out on that each year, and each year they claimed they forgot to get the cake decorated. I'm pretty sure that the reason my name was never written on another cake was because my brother always refused to eat pieces of cake that had writing of someone else's name on it at any party. And they couldn't put his name on any of my cakes, or it would have looked very bad for them. But the fact that I still got a day that was just about me at all and not my brother was still fantastic in my book. Especially because just about everything else revolved around him. During each of my remaining birthday parties while still living at home, my brother made a fuss, and my mom took him somewhere else to calm him down. I was still required to share my PS4 with my brother. But it was still mine. And I took it with me when I moved out at 18. Little bro did not like that, and had a huge fit till my parents went out and bought another PS4 for him. When I moved out, they finally had to deal with how they'd raised my brother so spoiled because I wasn't there to help them with him anymore. On his recent 14th birthday, he went mental on our parents for not getting him a PS5. He is now currently grounded for I don't know how long after causing hundreds or maybe even thousands in collateral damage during his rampage. He picked up a chair and just started destroying anything that was in front of him with it. And my parents just looked mentally checked out when I saw them last. My aunt has also told me they confided in her that they wish they could send my brother to military or boarding school in the future because they can't handle the monster they created anymore. But there's no way they can afford that. I'd be lying if I said I didn't find it ironically funny. My parents learned the hard way that they couldn't enable my brother the way they'd have liked at those parties. And were actually kicked out of a few for trying. You mean they were kicked out of parties multiple times before it stuck? It must have been weird to be more of a grown-up than your parents. I would also like to hear about how they tried to make some other kid's birthday party all about your brother. A birthday party that they were invited guests at. Wow. It took that many people calling them out before they did something? The relatives chastising them wasn't enough? It had to take a whole school and small community. I fear that one day your kid brother will be in jail. If he managed to cause thousands in damages over a non-expensive birthday, then this kid is definitely going to do something horrible if he doesn't get his way as a fully grown adult. Opie's parents screwed up big time. You had it rough too. In my case, the roles were reversed and the non-autistic older sister got all she wanted. Unfortunately, I didn't have a nice family to back me up, luckily with the exception of the husband of my grandmother's sister, not even a direct relative, and my birthday has been completely forgotten 4 times with the exception of Vim, who called me to wish me a happy birthday. He couldn't visit because he lived 4 national borders away. My older sister and I have the same birthday, 8 years apart. I'd get a cupcake, she'd get a cake. I basically attended her sweet 16 on my 8th birthday. Years later, my mom threw her a surprise birthday party and called me selfish for not going. Well, something you can do now if you'd like to is just buy yourself a cake. Name on it, favorite, filling, etc. There doesn't have to be a reason for cake besides cake itself. Mom is mad I'm sleeping in on weekends. 20F here. I work 8:30-4 Monday through Friday and usually sleep in on the weekends until about 12 p.m. or so. My mom moods are unpredictable, so one moment she won't get mad about a certain thing but then all of a sudden be mad about it for no reason. This weekend she's been flinging my door open and throwing clothes on my bed and then slamming it, causing me to wake up, and I just know she's throwing a fit because I'm sleeping in. On Saturday she told me I need to act my age because I got up late when trashes needed to be thrown, etc. I already had cleaned the house and done dishes, so I don't really understand why she's mad today when everything's been done. I just want a day to relax and sleep in. She's never told me that it's an expectation to be up early on weekends. If she needs help with something, all she needs to do is tell me to wake up early and help, and I will, but I can't just read her mind. A couple weeks ago she said some really hurtful things to me that caused me to have a breakdown, and when I tried to explain to her why what she said hurt me, she said I was just throwing a fit and basically tried to justify what she said, and couldn't admit she was wrong until I suggested it'd probably be best if I moved in with my brother. That's when she then apologized, which she never does. I've tried to set boundaries, and when I have, she just starts throwing fits, saying I'm the child and she's the mom, and I'll hear whatever she has to say as long as I'm under her roof. So at this point, is it really best to move out? The only thing that makes it hard is my car is about to give out, so it can't drive long distances. Am I being overdramatic? What am I doing wrong for her to react like this? Edit. Also, I want to clarify that I do my part around the house. I clean every day. I ask if things need to be done. I pay rent. When I go out to eat with them, I'll pay for my own food. I'll go out of my way to pay for their things to show gratitude. I don't just come home from work or just sit around on weekends and do nothing. I do what I need to do around here. You are an adult and pay rent. Your mother has no control or right to dictate if you sleep in or not. Definitely looks like time to seriously consider moving out if this is your mother's attitude. I've had a plan for a couple months to move out, but seems like I'm gonna be putting it in action soon. I have never understood why parents get worked up about this. My parents did it to me too, usually in a teasing manner though. As a result, I've never ever given my kids crap about sleeping in unless we have somewhere to go. Definitely consider moving out if it's possible for you to do so. Sleeping late on weekends is acting your age. Do it for as long and as often as you can. And move out of your mother's house. If you are paying rent, you shouldn't have to put up with the abuse. The under my roof thing really shouldn't apply once you became a paying tenant. Children don't pay rent and tenants don't have to put up with their landlords coming into their room and yelling at them. Your mom can't really have it both ways. Stop paying for extra things for your ungrateful parents and save your money to move out. What's with some people when it comes to Halloween? Now I live near an area known for witches. Around this time of the year, tourists and residents always make traffic and foot traffic really bad. I love people looking into the history of this area. But Halloween is where people from all over come. Streets are packed all day and night. Sometimes before even 7:30, I run out of candy to give to people and they keep on asking if I am sure that I have more. Especially the parents not from this area. I've had people with young kids saying, "Come on, we traveled all the way here for Halloween and this is how much you are giving us," or stares as if they are asking for more. I used to give out pretty good sized bars in packages for the young kids. But that obviously was taken advantage of. Parents came back the year I decided to not give out the good sized bars and complained how it was unfair. Kids would give me looks. It's really frustrating when we spend more money to decorate and buy the candy just for people to complain it's not enough. It's Halloween, enjoy the time you have instead of worrying about candy or having the best. This one dad came with his kid a lot later than he should have and got so frustrated when I ran out as I just gave the last to a kid in front. He complained how I should see if I have more. Or if I had any other candy that he could have. I think he was implying my own candy that I may have bought for myself. I told him that I normally start earlier as other people would come earlier. He cussed me out and left. This area is really proud of what they do for costumes, performances, and welcoming others. Some overly decorate as a show of lights and little haunted houses. Some don't even give out candy but little projects. All we expect is a little respect to keep a tradition going. This guy really frustrated me of how selfish he was. Your story rekindles my gratitude for living in a rural area. I've had exactly 0 Halloween visitors in the past 20 years. I do love seeing people. Not all of them are bad. There were so many young kids who were the sweetest. I normally give 3 pieces. I accidentally gave 2 to one kid by accident and said, "Wait, do you want one more?" They said, "No, leave it for the next one." Though there are a few bad apples. The kids were normally fine, but it was mostly the parents. Yeah, it costs money, but I love seeing the costumes. I remember when I was a child we went to this house and the man there didn't have any candy. He told us to wait and walked away leaving the door open. Next thing we knew he was playing a spooky tune on an organ he had somewhere in his home. I remember that more than any candy I got. Absolutely would have slammed the door in their faces with that attitude. I would be the end of me giving out anything. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.